Hello, good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight, the start of a new week. I'm Roger Johnson and thank you very much for joining us this evening. Our top story.
This is the 91st time I've called you about these shortfalls.
I hope it gets the victims justice. One of the stars of the post office scandal drama says its impact has been astonishing.
Supporting these people who are just everyday people, giving them a voice, and hopefully, doing this programme has really woke the public up to what's gone on here.
More from Will Mellor, and we'll hear from one of the sub-postmasters who was cleared. Also tonight, middle-class drug users fueling society's decline. The Victims Commissioner from Warrington tells us Britain is broken.
In the day, they've got these lovely suits on, drinking the fair trade coffee, but at the night, they're the ones collecting the drugs off these young people that are being exploited.
2 centuries of saving lives. To mark the RNLI's anniversary year, the story of its Isle of Man born fam.
I'm at the DW Stadium for what should be a fantastic FA Cup tie as Wigan Athletic, who famously won the competition, of course, in 2013, welcome Manchester United.
All that to come, and Kay has the weather forecast for us as well this evening. Now, it has catapulted the plight of wrongly accused postmasters into the public consciousness, and now one of the stars of the ITV drama, Mr Bates versus the Post Office, has told us that he hopes that it helps them to get justice. The Stockport actor Will Mellor plays one of those who were taken to court, accused of stealing money from his own branch when it was actually down to a computer malfunction. Today, there have been calls for all those convicted to be able to submit a mass appeal to overturn their convictions. Phil McCann has this report.
It's 20 years, in some cases longer, from when post office branch managers were wrongly accused and even prosecuted for stealing money they didn't steal. But the ITV drama, featuring amongst others Stockport actor Will Mellor, has put their plight firmly in the national conversation.
Yeah, right. Now, you'll see from my records, this is the 91st time I've called you about these shortfalls.
Until you see it, I don't think it lands. And now people really understand what these people went through, what they're still going through. And we're all trying to come together to give these people a chance to get what's coming to them.
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly
Declare.
There's a public inquiry into the scandal going on now. At the start, last year, Alderley Edge postmaster Scott Darlington gave evidence at it.
humiliation and embarrassment turned into depression and anxiety, really, when you realise that it's going to be very, very difficult to get out of this situation.
Scott was accused in 2009 of false accounting. He denied it, but his Horizon computer system said no. Post Office fraud investigators came round.
They just kept saying, well, one particular investigator, where have you put the money? You know where it is. Where's it gone? Standing over me, shouting, you know, where have you put the money? Where is it?
Scott was convicted in 2010 and got a suspended prison sentence. But then, 2 years ago, his conviction was overturned, along with 38 other postmasters. His name has been cleared, but he's still going through the application process for compensation.
You've got to jump through hoops. You have to prove every single aspect of everything, even though you haven't got the documents anymore from all the years ago. They won't accept things without all the documents.
Scott's old post office has disappeared. It's part of a wine bar now. All these years on, the post office says it and the government are committed to providing full, fair and final compensation for the people affected.
Loss of earnings, it goes on and on. There's loss of pension. Honestly, there's a long list. And this is nothing. This is separate to stigma, your reputation, the sheer depression and anxiety that it's caused.
If this was a fictional drama, you wouldn't believe someone as a company or as an organisation as big as the Post Office and the government would ever do this to people. You wouldn't believe it. You'd say it's too far-fetched, but it's the truth. And that's what's landed with everybody, is you have to keep reminding yourself, this is a true story.
And the Prime Minister was asked today about those, unlike Scott, whose convictions haven't yet been overturned. He said the government would make this right for all those affected. Although for many, of course, it's been a very long time. Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight, Alderley Edge.
An inquest into the deaths of 2 children who died after a house fire was halted today after the coroner said that he wanted to hear evidence from the ambulance service. Lewis and Desiree Buziok died 4 days after the blaze at their house in April 2022, but the inquest in Preston was told that the ambulance service incident was given a lower priority and paramedics arrived after both the police and firefighters. Let's go live to Preston, to Yunus Muller, who was listening to proceedings today. First of all, Yunus, just rewind and remind us a bit more about this tragic incident.
Roger, at the start of what should have been a 4-day inquest, we were told that Lorena Ferraro had fallen asleep with her children in their bedroom of their terrace property in Preston when she woke up to the sound of a fire alarm. She then discovered that there was thick smoke in the house and there were flames downstairs. She tried desperately to escape with her children from the top of a window. She managed to get out but couldn't get her children out because they resisted. Neighbours eventually persuaded her to jump, which she did, but she tried to go back inside, but she was prevented from doing that because of the intensity of the flames. We were told today that the fire probably started when she was asleep and one of the children managed to unlock the bedroom door, go downstairs and play with a stove lighter and set fire to a settee, and that accounted for the intensity of the blaze.
And Yunus, the parents of the children have raised concerns, haven't they, about the response of the emergency services?
Well, that emergency call came in at 7:52 p.m. on April the 8th, 2022. A few minutes later, the firefighters were on the scene along with the police, and very quickly they got the children out of the property and gave them treatment at the roadside. But North West Ambulance Service, it took them several more minutes to arrive, and that's because they initially classified that call as grade 2 and not a grade 1, and didn't give it the priority that they should have done. They were given treatment when the ambulance arrived, but the children were taken to hospital and they died 4 days later.
So, Yunus, what happens next now?
Well, the area coroner, Chris Long, wants to examine the role North West Ambulance Service played in this incident. He wants to look at their response, he wants to look at the treatment given, the drugs available on the ambulance, and he wants to look at whether they met their own standards. And to do that, he wants the service to be legally represented at this inquest. He's given them 7 days to respond, after which he will set a future date for this inquest.
Thank you, Yunus. Now, the Prime Minister says that he doesn't think that the Blackpool North and Clevedley's MP, Paul Maynard, should be suspended after claims that he used taxpayers' money to fund Conservative Party work and campaigning. Labour are calling for the Prime Minister's ethics advisor to investigate whether Mr Maynard broke the rules and should have the whip removed. Greater Manchester's mayor's proposing a charter to improve standards of rented housing. Andy Burnham's launching a public consultation on forcing landlords to spend more on their properties and to carry out speedy repairs. An estimated £500 million in housing benefit payments is paid every year to private landlords in Greater Manchester. Passengers who travelled on the Kirby line of Merseyrail last year could get their money back. Kirby was where the first of a new fleet of trains costing £500 million came on track in January 2023. There have been regular disruptions to services, and the Liverpool City Region Mayor Steve Rotherham wants the repayment as a result of passengers' patience. Now, when Michael Norris from New Brighton was blinded in one eye in an unprovoked attack, he had faith in the criminal justice system. But that was shattered when his attacker only served 8 months in prison. And now he's calling on the government to bar violent offenders from its early release scheme. Lindsay Prosser reports.
Playing board games was Michael Norris's favourite pastime, but an unprovoked attack by a stranger left him blind in one eye and struggling to find the enthusiasm for the things he once enjoyed.
I've gone through multiple operations already. I've lost my job. This guy's shown no remorse whatsoever.
Michael's attacker was sentenced to 28 months imprisonment and could have expected to serve 14, but spent 8 months in prison. The government's early release scheme was changed in the summer, partly due to prison overcrowding. Now prisoners guilty of certain crimes can be released 6 months early. They're subject to electronic surveillance, must live at an approved address, and are risk assessed before leaving prison.
People should spend the time in prison, and it should be a just amount of time. To serve 8 months for blinding somebody, my life's been turned upside down, to me is an absolute travesty. It's just wrong.
In a statement, the Ministry of Justice said offenders are only released on home detention curfew following a thorough risk assessment and are subject to strict conditions, including wearing an electronic tag. We do not hesitate to return them to prison if these conditions are broken.
I understand that prisons are full, and that's one reason to be able to say that we need to let people out early. But the thing is, we should be future-proof in the UK anyway. We should have enough prison spaces to actually then put that on the victims to say, sorry, but we need to release people early, because that's an excuse as far as I'm concerned.
Michael's attacker is subject to a 10-year restraining order. That gives Michael some peace of mind. But he wants the government to take into account the impact violent crime has on victims.
I want to be able to get involved with organisations or charities, or get into some type of work that where I can get involved with other people who have gone through similar type of things and be a positive influence, because I know that I'll be okay in the end over this, even though obviously I'm upset about the prison sentence, but I feel positive about the future. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Lindsay Prosser, BBC North West Tonight.
Well, Michael's unhappiness with the justice system will be no surprise to the Victims Commissioner. Baroness Newlove from Warrington has returned to the role that she held for 6 years after her successor decided to give it up. Her job is to help victims of crime and hold the government and the police to account. Helen Newlove, of course, started campaigning after her husband Gary was killed by a drunken gang in Warrington in 2007. I spoke to her a little earlier, and she told me that she thinks Britain now is broken.
Constantly now we're hearing about knife crime. Are we becoming so desensitised? Antisocial behaviour used to be just the young people in gangs. Now we've got a lot of older generation who are causing problems. The depth of violence that's being delivered as well. So yes, I do think Britain's broken, but I don't think it's just government's issue. I think it's a society problem that people are very angry. People treat people terribly. So I think we have to go back to basics and feel safe. And it's respect and dignity at the end of the day. We're doing no favours to the younger generation.
Talking about drugs, people think, oh, that's a problem at the bottom of society, if you'll excuse the phrase. Mm-hmm. It doesn't affect everybody. But Merseyside police put figures out last week saying they'd arrested 4 times as many people for drug driving over Christmas as drink driving.
Yes.
Is it everywhere?
It is everywhere. It isn't just, these deprived areas that they see going on. It is the high end who seem very much privileged. It's, it's not their issue. We're fine. We can cope with it. So in the day, they've got these lovely suits on, drinking the fair trade coffee. But at the night, they're the ones collecting the drugs off these young people that are being exploited. And so yes, it is.
You say drugs, cocaine.
Cocaine, yes. Cocaine is like talcum powder on tables. It's in toilets. It's been collected. And actually, cocaine's been used in the day from them. So it's all right saying, look at me, it doesn't happen in my world. At the night time, it's a different beast altogether. So we've got to see this as a whole and not silo it off and just blame young people.
Does it depress you?
I'm human, yes, I do get depressed, and sometimes it drives me insane. But at the same time, then I think, no, I was given this opportunity to help people, and I'll carry on doing that. I'll challenge people, and if I can help and educate young people and do that, if they can just take one person and it helps, I'll carry on doing that.
One of the stories that's made headlines in the last week is the post office, and the postmasters and postmistresses who were wrongly prosecuted are victims.
Yes.
What's your view on that situation?
Well, as you know, I'm the Victims Commissioner. I can't say anything on individual cases. However, I just feel my heart breaks for them. I watch the drama, and I just think that, because people say, well, they're not victims of crime because it was a civil dispute or whatever, actually they are. Their lives have been ruined. So I think it's an opportunity for government to actually roll up the sleeves and do something.
You've taken this role back on for 12 months
yes.
in an interim capacity. What does success look like for you in that year?
One of the successes in this year coming is actually we get a victims legislation that means what it says on the tin. I've always advocated for victims' legal rights.
17 years since you lost Gary. I'm sure every day goes by you think about him.
I do.
What would he think about the way your life has developed, and Baroness Newlove now back in the Victims Commissioner's chair again?
Hopefully he'd be very proud.
Sure he would.
You know, and my daughters are proud, even though they don't say it a lot, but they are proud. But it's about humanity, isn't it? You know, in the drama with the post office, there's a line from, I think it's Will Mellor, who's the actor, and he said, you know, I believe in British justice. We all believe there's a system there to protect us, and when you go in it and you find out it doesn't, it's a very lonely pathway, and we need respect and dignity from our criminal justice system and the agencies as well.
Baroness Newlove, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Now, as we all know, it's been a difficult time for the hospitality industry. Rising costs driven by high energy prices, rent hikes, of course the cost of living crisis for everybody, and increased food costs have meant that many small businesses have closed down in the past year. Last week, you may have heard, certainly if you live in the Greater Manchester area, that the TV chef Simon Rimmer closed his restaurant in the city after 30 years. And there are fears that many others might follow unless the government offers help, as Davinia Ramos has been finding out.
A new year and new challenges for businesses like this. Dario runs this chain of Italian restaurants and says he expects the year ahead to be tough.
It's been very challenging past year. We expect in 2024 to be even more challenging. Restaurants already operate on a thinnest of margins. Inflation is pushing prices up. Fresh produce keeps going up by at least 30–40% more. Not to mention utility bills.
We're in a very affluent area here. Why do you not think that rising the prices slightly wouldn't go down well with customers here?
We cannot double the prices overnight, even being in an affluent part of Cheshire. We cannot just go 50% more. Costa will not accept it.
Last week, Greens here in Didsbury shut its doors after 33 years, becoming one of the first casualties in the hospitality industry in 2024. Now, it blamed huge running costs as well as massive rent increases. Its rent went up by 35%, meaning the business was no longer viable.
Sugar and yogurt.
Greens was run by TV chef Simon Rimmer, who put this statement out on his social media last week.
With immediate effect, we've unfortunately shut the door. It's a heartbreaking day. I'd like to thank every single member of staff that's worked for us over the years, every single customer that's come through the door.
Sasha Lord, Manchester's nighttime economy advisors, warned there would be more casualties after the closure of Greens. And experts say that changes to the living wage in April will only add more pressure.
I do think it's going to get worse, with an eye on April's hikes to the national living wage, which are going to go up by 10%. You know, I think a lot of businesses are going to be badly impacted by that. It's for the government and for local government to actually step up to the plate now and offer some blue sky thinking about what they can do.
In the meantime, businesses like this just have to hope that what they're doing is enough to survive. Davinia Ramos, BBC North West Tonight, Wilmslow.
Right, we're going to talk sport for the next couple of minutes, well, kind of initially, because the fundraising of rugby league stars Kevin Sinfield and Rob Burrow for motor neurone disease is probably about to be perhaps replicated in the world of football. That's because the former Liverpool and Bolton player Stephen Darby's been speaking about life with the condition. He met another former player, Marcus Stewart, at Anfield. Marcus has also got MND, and they are organising a 175-mile walk between 17 football grounds to raise awareness.
MND brings all types of people together. But what's special is we're all fighting for the same thing, and that's to find a treatment and a cure.
I wish Stephen all the very best, and Marcus as well. Good luck with their walk. Now, let's move on to matters on the pitch. Last FA Cup game of third round weekend tonight. Fourth round draw this evening too. Manchester United at League One, Wigan. Big night for Latics then, Rich.
It really is, Rog. This feels like a proper FA Cup night. There's a real nip in the air. Not that you would know in your warm studio, but some Wigan fans talking about, might there be an upset or not. Very important game for Manchester United as well, of course. Sold out here at the DW Stadium. And when you throw in the fact that Wigan won the FA Cup, didn't they, famously in 2013, does feel like a really special occasion. Maybe Wigan will take inspiration from our two other League One sides who are still in the draw. Blackpool, they both earned replays against Premier League opposition. Blackpool drew 2-2 with Nottingham Forest. Bolton drew 0-0 with Luton. The holders Manchester City and the Premier League leaders Liverpool are also still in there. Liverpool, after a battling 2-0 win at Arsenal, thanks to an own goal and this clincher from Luis Diaz. Manchester City, they thumped Huddersfield Town 5-0. Kevin De Bruyne back from injury, a real boost. Phil Foden with a couple of goals. And Blackburn Rovers also a thumping victory, 5-2 against Cambridge, thanks to a Sammy Smodics hat-trick at Ewood Park. Right, let's focus on this game tonight. You'd like to say I'm joined by a man who has seen it all here at Wigan Athletic as a player, coach, now assistant manager, Graham Barrow. Great to see you, Graham.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's a fantastic occasion, this, for Wigan Athletic. You've been, the lads are obviously preparing for it. What have you said to them? Just enjoy it?
Well, we have really. We've been very positive about it. Obviously, we had to win 2 games to get to this stage. And after the summer that we had with things going wrong with the club, it's great for us to be here tonight on such a big occasion, really.
It really is. I hope you don't mind me saying, Graham, you're a Manchester United fan from old. Have you caught Manchester United because of their problems at just the right time?
That's a difficult one, because the more we've, obviously, since the draw, we've obviously watched them time and time again, like you can nowadays. They do obviously carry a big attacking threat, no matter what anybody says about them. I would, as a supporter, be disappointed with the league position, with Liverpool and teams like that going that little bit better than them, but they do carry a threat. But I'm not in that camp where you say you have nothing to lose.
No, and it'll be a great occasion no matter what. I guess what Wigan Athletic did by winning the trophy, this is a magical competition. That sums it up, Graham, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, that was. Obviously I'm steeped in the FA Cup. I've been at every level, but I was brought up with it. But I still think it's recaptured the magic the last few years, over the last 10 years. You see clubs now, and everybody, you see Arsenal last night, it was gung-ho, wasn't it, end to end against Liverpool. So
it was brilliant stuff, and let's hope for the same, Graham. We wish you all the best. Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate your time. Thank you. The draw, by the way, is at 7:50. Kick-off here at 8:15 from the DW. Back to you.
Richard, thank you very much. Hope you don't mind me saying you're a United fan. Stony face, didn't look very happy, did he? Wish them all the very best tonight, both sets of players. Right, just before the weather with Kay, thousands of lives have been saved by the lifeboat crews of the RNLI. It's one of our most revered institutions, of course, and this year it's celebrating its 200th anniversary. But did you know it was founded by a Manxman? Well, there was a special memorial service for him this weekend, and we've got a special report now from Alex Blake.
Today, the RNLI is a household name. It's thousands of volunteers known for tackling the roughest conditions to save lives in peril on the sea. A charity that is now 200 years old. But what you might not know is that it all began with one man living on the Isle of Man with an ambitious vision.
Sir William Hillary lived in Fort Anne, not far from where I'm sitting right now. And much like the statue that remains in his memory today, he used to look out and see firsthand the treacherous nature of the sea. Now, in the early 19th century, there were an average of 1,800 shipwrecks a year around the British Isles. And refusing to stand by and watch people drown, Hillary made an impassioned appeal to the UK's Admiralty in 1823.
Sir William had an amazing vision, which he wrote about in 1823 and then became real in 1824. And that was just to save lives at sea, without judgment or prejudice. And he would recognise today the service that he intended to create.
In the last 200 years, it's believed more than 144,000 lives have been saved by the many tens of thousands of RNLI volunteers. And from simple dinghies, the life-saving vessels have undergone huge changes in the last 2 centuries. And the island's first lifeboat station in Douglas is proud to continue Sir William's legacy.
I think to know that we're carrying on what Sir William Hillary started here in Douglas, but to be doing it in the same waters is that really special link to the birthplace of the RNLI.
A service in honour of the bicentennial and Sir William Hillary was held at St George's Church in Douglas.
Whenever I am needed, Lord, let me trust in you.
For you have bestowed the honour that I am lifeboat crew.
And afterwards a wreath was laid at the founder's grave. With the official birthday of the charity to be celebrated across the UK in March, early Manx celebrations look not just at the last 200 years, but on generations to come.
Who knows what the world will look like in 100 years' time, 200 years' time, so we can't predict what the RNLI is going to look like. The best we can do is try and engage and inspire the next generation.
Alex Blake, BBC North West Tonight, Douglas.
Very brave people. Right, let's have a look at the weather. Kay, how's it looking?
Cold.
Yes.
I don't know why I've got short sleeve dress on. It's freezing. In fact, some spots today in the northwest did not get above 1 degree. We got the balmy heights of 4 degrees along the coast. We started off, though, we saw the sun breaking through the clouds, thanks to Jan for sending that picture in. And we saw a lovely scene. You know, I love Marple. This is Lock 8, thanks to Emma P for sending that picture in of Marple earlier. Cold today. Cold tomorrow, temperatures are going to pick up a little bit and then they'll drop off again. But all the while, a lot of dry weather. High pressure is still in charge. So we're pulling in the east to northeasterly breeze. And then as we get towards the middle of the week, we'll start to pull in a bit more moisture, a bit more cloud. Temperatures pick up a little bit. Could be a few spots of light rain over the hills. Oh, through this evening and then overnight tonight, for the most part, we're going to be dry. Now, there'll still be a fair amount of cloud out and about. A few clear spells, so we will get some pockets of frost, down to about -2 for Cumbria. Could even have a few icy stretches where you've had any wet bits on the road. A few bits and pieces of mist and fog, but limited. And temperatures, yeah, for many of us staying just above freezing. So a chilly start tomorrow morning, but tomorrow we will have a slightly drier air mass and a bit more of a breeze. So that's going to help mix up the clouds. So we should see some decent spells of sunshine. Temperatures climbing up to, wow, a good 5 degrees with a gentle east-northeasterly breeze. You can see the orange on the map just starting to push in a little bit as we head towards the middle to the end of the week. Look up here, though, this front behind that much colder air, we could be pulling down a northerly breeze as we head towards the weekend, Roger, and that means thermals again for you.
Oh, good news. Thank you very much. Jeff's emailed from Windermere. He says, tonight's programme's been first class, very well put together. Thank you, Jeff. We like you, although he did email before the weather, interesting. Thanks for watching. Good night.